Have you ever woken up in the morning, feeling like you're already walking on eggshells? Each breath measured, each thought censored, as though the very air you breathe is laced with someone else's expectations. It's as if you're trapped inside a glass cage, endlessly performing for a crowd that doesn't even know your name. The moment you open your eyes, a silent question hovers over your head. What will they think of me today? And from that moment on, every step you take, every smile you force, every word you utter is filtered through an invisible jury. You feel their stares, even if no one is looking, and you hear their whispered judgments ringing in your ears, louder than your own heartbeat. This, right here, is where your life begins to slip away, minute by minute, moment by moment, because you are not living for you, you are living for them. Now imagine for a second that you could shatter that invisible glass. Imagine feeling the sun on your skin without the weight of 1,000 eyes pressing down on you. Imagine each breath you take being solely for you, unfiltered, unshaken, unapologetic. This isn't a pipe dream. This isn't some distant fantasy reserved for the philosophers or the superheroes of myth. This is a possibility, and it starts right now, in this moment. Picture your life as a grand tapestry, threads of dreams, desires, fears, and hopes, all woven together by your choices. But what if someone else could pick up a pen and start redrawing your lines, reshaping your colors, deciding what you should dream and whom you should be? These invisible critics, these silent spectators, they're constantly trying to rewrite your story based on their own fears, their own traumas, their own limited vision. They want to see you shrink, because when you shrink, they feel bigger. When you shrink, they feel safer. And so they whisper, sometimes politely, sometimes viciously, that you're too much, that your dreams are too big, that your voice is too loud. Some of those whispers come from your family, some from old friends, some from social media trolls, and some from that tiny voice in the back of your mind that's learned to parrot everyone else's judgments. As the Stoics taught us thousands of years ago, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. And oh, how we create mountains of torment, fueled by other people's judgments, projecting onto us like dark shadows. It's time to confront the brutal truth. Those people, those voices that think they own you, they don't really know you. They don't know your long nights lying awake, wrestling with doubts that sting like cold steel. They don't know the tremor in your voice every time you consider speaking your truth. They don't know the secret scars you hide behind a forced grin. Scars carved not by your own failures, but by the expectations shoved onto you by everyone else. Yet because you see their faces, real or imagined, you've given them the authority to decide who you become. You've auctioned off your dreams to the highest bidder of approval, and now you're bankrupt of authenticity. Every time you say, "I'll do it when they're okay with it," you're signing away a piece of your soul. Take a moment and recall the first time you felt the sting of judgment. Maybe it was a teacher smirking when you tripped in front of the class. Maybe it was a friend rolling their eyes when you dared to dream bigger. Maybe it was a stranger's curt comment online that felt like a punch to the gut. Right then, in that instant, the seed was planted. You began to believe that your worth was tied to someone else's approval. And from that moment on, like a chain around your ankle, you've been dragged through the sands of self-doubt, always looking for permission to be, permission to speak, permission to live. But here's the raw, undeniable truth. That permission will never come, because it isn't theirs to give. It belongs to you. Feel the weight of that reality for a moment. All those plans you shelved because you were too afraid of criticism. All those words you swallowed because you didn't want to upset someone. All those visions you abandoned because you convinced yourself no one would support you. Now realize, every single one of those life-altering regrets was born from the simple act of caring too much about what someone else thought. And each regret is a ghost, haunting your present, draining your vitality, whispering, "Maybe I should have." But what if I told you that every regret could have been a triumph instead? What if I could show you the path from regret to liberation? Let me introduce you to a simple yet revolutionary concept. A concept so radical that it has the power to reshape your entire existence. Your value, your power, your freedom. They are not dependent on someone else's approval. They are intrinsic. They are within you, waiting to be claimed. When you finally accept that the only opinion that truly matters is your own, the world shifts. The ground beneath you becomes rock solid instead of shifting sand. You stand in your own light, and their shadows no longer have any hold over you. The moment you decide to stop caring, to truly stop measuring every move by someone else's yardstick, you step into a new reality, one where you become the author of your own destiny. But let's be honest, it's not as simple as flipping a switch. You've spent years, maybe decades, perfecting the art of people-pleasing. You've honed your reflex to shrink before the crowd, to edit your thoughts until they're safe, to present a version of yourself that's been sanitized of any edges or flaws. And in that process, you've become an expert performer in a play called Please Like Me. The applause you crave, the nods of approval, the likes and hearts, they're fleeting like soap bubbles in the wind. They pop, they vanish, and then you're left with the same crushing emptiness. You think you need that applause to breathe, but the truth? You've been suffocating while you chase it. An Epictetus dared to say, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." He wasn't just speaking words, he was laying down a gauntlet. He was demanding that you stop playing small, stop curating a false image, and instead embrace the rawness of your truth, knowing full well that others might misunderstand, mock, or reject you. And, yes, some will. But here is where the real transformation unfolds. The people who matter, the ones whose opinions you should value, will respect you for having the courage to speak your mind, to pursue what sets your soul on fire. They don't demand that you become a chameleon in order to fit into their worldview. They celebrate you for your authenticity. Humanness is messy. We fumble, we make mistakes, we have weird dreams and weird hobbies. We laugh too loud or too little. We love too fiercely or too cautiously. And yet, we've been conditioned to believe that perfection is the goal, and any deviation is a crime. But what if the very things you hide, your quirks, your scars, your madness, are the things that make you magnetic? What if your raw edges are what cut through the noise, demanding attention, not through conformity, but through authenticity? When you stop caring about fitting into the mold, you become a magnet for those who resonate with your vibration. Suddenly, you attract relationships and opportunities that honor the real you. Think about it. The idea of seeking approval is like walking around with a blindfold in a room full of mirrors. You keep reaching out, asking, "Is this good? Is this okay?" hoping for someone to nod. But because you're lost in reflections, you never actually see yourself. When you remove the blindfold, when you decide you no longer need anyone else to validate your existence, you get your first real glimpse of who you truly are. You see the fire in your eyes, the passion in your heart, the potential in your hands. And that reflection, unfiltered and unapologetic, is the one that matters. There's a moment, usually small and fleeting, when the scale tips. It might happen when you finally post that honest opinion on social media, knowing full well that someone might call you crazy. Or it might happen when you decide to wear that bright outfit that you love. even though everyone else prefers the safe, muted tones. Or maybe it's when you start saying no to invitations that feel hollow, no to conversations that drain you, and yes to that side hustle or passion project that's been whispering your name for months. That moment of courage, that first small step away from the prison of others' expectations, is when you cross the Rubicon. After that, you can't go back to being a puppet. You're too alive. You're too real. Still, hesitation is the enemy of transformation. Our minds love to build fortresses of what-ifs. What if they laugh? What if they call me delusional? What if I fail spectacularly in front of everyone? But here's the truth. No one ever achieved greatness by playing it safe. Every trailblazer, every revolutionary, every icon who dared to be different was once terrified of being mocked. They felt that same knot in their stomach, that same trembling in their heart, but they embraced the fear, stared it down, and refused to let the fear of judgment dictate their choices. And because they did, they created legacies that still echo through time. Let's rattle some cages with a cold, hard fact. Every single person you see who seems to have it all figured out, celebs, influencers, that coworker who posts motivational quotes all day, they're still human. They still battle insecurities. They still question whether they're enough. They still care, sometimes too much, about what others think. But here's what separates them. They decided to care more about their own voice than the million voices trying to drown them out. They decided to build a fortress not around perfection, but around authenticity. And that's why, no matter how loud the noise around them gets, you can still feel their confidence pulsating, because it's rooted in something deeper than transient applause. So, how do you begin this journey from living in chains to owning your life? It starts with a simple, seemingly innocuous act. Notice when you're about to say yes out of obligation, not desire. Notice when you're editing your words mid-sentence because you're imagining someone's scowl. Notice when you're dimming your light because you think it might intimidate someone else. Awareness is the first step, like a faucet you didn't know was on, gushing water all over your life. When you become aware, you gain the power to turn it off. You see the puppet strings. You see the cage bars. And that clarity is terrifying, yes, but also exhilarating. Because once you see them, you can break them. Next, practice small rebellions. Rebellions against your own conditioned responses. Maybe it's as small as saying, "I disagree," when you really do, instead of smiling and nodding. Maybe it's as big as declaring your dream to write a novel or start that coaching business instead of settling for something safer. Each small rebellion builds a muscle, your authenticity muscle. Every time you choose to honor your own voice over some imaginary crowd, you become stronger, more real, more aligned with your truth. It's like a campfire. You feed it small sparks, and soon it becomes a roaring blaze that lights up everything around you. I want you to imagine, for a moment, standing on a cliff overlooking a vast ocean at sunrise. The sky is a riot of colors, molten gold, fiery orange, tender pink. The winds howl at your back, unrestrained and electrifying, and you feel something shift deep in your chest. You realize that the entire universe is expanding around you, and you are not merely a speck floating in isolation. You are a unique part of this cosmic panorama. No one else can feel that sunrise exactly the way you feel it, and no one else can live your life exactly the way you can. To censor your essence is to deny the universe its rightful expression. It's easy to dismiss this as philosophical fluff, but let's get practical. When you stop caring about what people think, doors start opening. You become more willing to speak up in meetings, to pitch that bold idea, to express your unique perspective. People sense your unfiltered confidence. They're drawn to it like moths to a flame. Suddenly, opportunities that used to feel out of reach start flowing toward you. Collaborations, partnerships, friendships, they all blossom around someone who's real, not someone who's hiding behind a facade. And even if you encounter critics, and you will, those criticisms lose their power because they're no longer daggers aimed at your heart. They're just words, like any other. But let me cut to the chase. Living for yourself is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice, a lifelong commitment. There will be mornings when you wake up and the old fears come back louder, more insidious. There will be moments when you succumb to the urge to shrink again, to slip back into the comfortable costume of people-pleasing. And that's okay, because growth is rarely linear. The key is not never slipping up. The key is catching yourself when you slip and choosing, again, to stand up. Every time you make that choice, you reclaim a little more of your power. And before you know it, the voices of doubt, both from others and from within, become whispers, while your own voice grows into a roar. There will be sacrifice. Some relationships will strain and break because they were built on the foundation of your people-pleasing. When you remove the mask, some people won't recognize the real you. Some might feel threatened by your newfound authenticity. They might accuse you of being selfish or cold. They might turn their backs. But that's part of the process. Life doesn't shrink because you've decided to stand tall. And here's where the beauty lies. Those who stay, the ones who see your raw, unfiltered self and still choose to stand beside you. Those are the people you want. They're your tribe, your soul family, the ones who honor you for who you truly are. And because they're aligned with your truth, the connections are deeper, more meaningful, more nourishing. Remember that Chinese proverb, "The nail that sticks out gets hammered down." Society teaches us to blend in, to be the silent nail. But what if you were never meant to hide? What if your purpose is not to fit into their frame, but to shatter it? When you stand tall, you become a beacon for others who are wandering in the dark, searching for permission to be themselves. You give others the courage to flicker their own flame, to step into their own brilliance. The ripple effect is astonishing. One person's courage becomes a tidal wave of truth. Let's confront a myth that's been ingrained into our bones. Care about what others think is polite. It's respectful. It's how you maintain harmony. But here's the ruthless counter. When you care more about harmony than truth, you're sacrificing authenticity. You're choosing an illusion of peace over the messy, beautiful struggle of real connection. Real harmony emerges when two flawed, honest people meet on equal ground. No masks, no pretenses. In that space, true understanding and empathy can blossom. But if you're not honest about who you are, if you continue to water yourself down, you wither inside while the world marvels at your cracked facade. So right now, take a breath and feel the weight that lifts from your shoulders as you imagine shedding the need for approval. Feel how your chest expands, how your heart begins to beat with a deeper rhythm, one that's not dictated by someone else's clap or criticism. That is the feeling of liberation. It's raw, it's potent, and it's available to you right now. All it requires is the willingness to let go of the chains you've willingly worn for so long. You might ask, but what about respect? What about being a good person? Won't that make me an unkind, selfish jerk? Let me be crystal clear. There's a vast difference between be respectful and be a doormat. Respect is a two-way street. When you respect yourself, your boundaries, your desires, your worth, you give others permission to respect you in return. Being true to yourself is the highest form of kindness you can offer, both to yourself and to the people around you. Because you're not trading authenticity for fake friendliness. You're trading fear for integrity. You might also wonder, what about accountability? Shouldn't I care what my community thinks so I don't hurt people? Absolutely. Accountability is non-negotiable. Caring about the impact of your actions on others is a sign of empathy, not weakness. But here's the distinction. Caring about what people think in order to avoid embarrassment or shame is different from caring enough to own your mistakes, apologize, and grow. When your compass is internal, rooted in your own moral code and empathy, you act with integrity, not out of fear of gossip. You become the kind of person who takes responsibility because you genuinely care about the well-being of others, not simply because you don't want to be labeled bad. Now, imagine a future where you've fully internalized this shift. You walk into rooms with your shoulders back, your gaze steady, your ideas unfiltered. You share your genuine opinions, even when they're unpopular. You chase your boldest dreams, because you know that if they fail, you'll still be whole. You'll still be worthy. You'll still be undeterred. You wear your style, your quirks, your weirdness like a royal robe, because you recognize that your uniqueness is your superpower. You surround yourself with people who honor you, challenge you, and celebrate you. And you do it not out of arrogance, but out of the unshakable knowledge that you, just as you are, matter. Every time someone criticizes you, you feel a brief sting, like a raindrop on a shield, before it slides off harmlessly. Because you know where your worth comes from, not from their applause, not from their nod, but from your own integrity, your own courage, your own love for yourself. You've built a fortress of self-worth that no external arrow can penetrate. In that fortress, you are free to explore, to create, to love without reservation, to live without apology. Take a deep breath and seal this truth into your bones. No one will come to rescue you. There is no knight in shining armor riding in to grant you permission to exist fully. There is only you. You are both the hero and the author of your life. And while that might feel terrifying, because it means the responsibility is all yours, it is also the greatest gift. Because once you claim that power, once you decide that your life is not a performance, but a masterpiece in progress, you become unstoppable. So, let this be your moment of awakening. Let these words echo in your mind whenever you feel the familiar tug of others' opinions pulling you off course. Let them be a beacon guiding you back whenever you drift towards safety at the expense of your truth. Let them remind you that every time you shrink, a part of your brilliance withers. But every time you stand tall, a new seed of possibility is planted. Your life is not a dress rehearsal. You are not here to fill someone else's script. You're here to write your own. So burn the old pages, rip them up, let them feed the fire of your rebirth. Say goodbye to the person-pleaser who has been living in the shadows of someone else's expectations, and say hello to the flame of authenticity, dancing brightly at the core of your being. In the days ahead, you will encounter crossroads. There will be invitations to wear the familiar mask again, to blend in for a while, to trade a little integrity for a bit of comfort. When that crossroads appears, let this voice inside you, this voice that now knows your worth, guide you. Let it be louder than the whispers of doubt. Let it remind you that if you choose the easy, well-trodden path, you'll end up somewhere you don't want to be. A life half-lived. Instead, choose the path that scares you, the path that demands your courage, the path that promises transformation. Because on the other side of that courage lies freedom, the kind of freedom that artists feel when they paint their vision without compromise, the kind of freedom that inventors feel when they pursue the impossible, the kind of freedom that lovers feel when they expose their hearts without reservation. That freedom is yours for the taking, but it requires a vow to value your truth above all else, a vow to honor your inner drumbeat even when the outside world plays a different song, a vow to believe in yourself fiercely even when no one else does. Now, feel that vow forming in your heart. Feel how it charges the air around you, electrifying every cell in your body. Feel your spine straighten, your chest expand, your mind clear. This is the moment you cross the threshold from the prison of others' opinions to the open field of self-mastery. From now on, let every decision you make be guided by the question, is this true to me? When you make that your North Star, you will never again be lost in the wilderness of other people's expectations. And yes, there will be storms. There will be days when doubt creeps back in, when you feel the old chains rattling. But remember, storms pass, and each time you weather one, you become sturdier, wiser, more anchored in your truth. You learn that your worth doesn't come from smooth sailing. It comes from staying at the helm, even when the waves rise high. So go on, step forward, speak your truth, chase that wild dream, wear your quirkiest outfit, publish that unfiltered opinion, create that unconventional art. Whatever it is that makes your soul soar, do it. Do it now, before fear can coil around your heart again. The dawn of your real life begins the moment you say, I refuse to live in the shadow of someone else's expectations. And when you finally stand tall, when you stand unbroken, unbowed, unafraid, you'll discover something beautiful. You never needed them to believe in you. All you ever truly needed was to believe in yourself, because within you lies an uncharted universe of potential waiting to burst into existence. Let it shine, let it roar. If this message has ignited a spark inside you, if it stirred something in the depths of your heart, then share it. Let others hear this call. Let them know that there is a path out of the cage, a path to freedom, a path to living so boldly that the stars themselves take notice. Because the world needs more souls daring to live fully. The world needs more voices refusing to be silenced. The world needs more hearts beating to their own rhythm. And if you hunger for more truth, more depth, more unfiltered insight, then stay close, subscribe, follow, journey with us. Because this is not the end, it's only the beginning. The path of wisdom, of authenticity, of fearless living winds on, and there is so much more to uncover. So stay tuned, stay hungry, and above all, stay true to yourself. Your life, your journey, your story. This is your time. Live it unapologetically. Live it fiercely. Live it as if every breath you take is a declaration of your boundless worth. Because it is.